Good morning, you fabulous people, and welcome to Thursday's edition, forgot what day of the week it is, of Everything Yesterday This Morning. I just wanted to let you guys know it's very possible that my son will interrupt me in recording today, and I don't have time to edit, so you may get a visitor today. So I'm just letting you know in advance. Insane lithium price rally continues with little relief in sight. Lithium prices have jumped across the board over the past year on the back of heavy demand from the automotive sector. But inside China, there is a mad scramble, particularly for carbonate. Carbonate continues to soar in 2022 after more than quadrupling in value the last year. The mid-March assessment by Benchmark I promise someday I'll have it together. Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, which is a battery supply chain researcher and price reporting agency, shows battery-grade lithium carbonate averaging $76,700 a ton. That's up 10% over just 2 weeks and 95% since the start of the year. In March of last year, it was trading at $13,400 a ton. The rally in lithium hydroxide used in high nickel content cathode manufacturing is accelerating up to 120% so far this year, narrowing the discount to carbonate, which historically is priced below hydroxide. Benchmark continues to hear reports that Chinese inventory levels for hydroxide, carbonate, and spodumene feedstock remain very low, sustaining the high price environment. In a recent report, they also said high Chinese lithium carbonate prices have pushed the cost of lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, cells higher than high nickel cells on a dollar per kilowatt hour basis, compared to a deep discount historically. The chaos on nickel metal markets may spill over onto the metals used in the battery supply chain, reversing the trend. Nickel contracts were suspended on the LME at $80,000 a ton last week after a short squeeze on Tsingshan, the world's largest stainless steel manufacturer, and the imposition of sanctions on Russia, a major producer of nickel. So grab your Teslas as fast as you can because it's about to be completely unaffordable for the average human. 35% of Americans support U.S. military action supporting Ukraine, even if it risks nuclear conflict with Russia. Pew Research Center found comparable numbers of people in both parties, 36% of Republicans and 35% of Democrats, who favor risking nuclear war. 75% of Republicans and 81% of Democrats said they favor keeping large numbers of U.S. military forces in NATO countries near Ukraine in response to the conflict. The survey also found that nearly half of Americans, 47%, approve of the Biden administration's handling of the conflict. Telling from this survey is the meager 9% of Republicans and 5% of Democrats that think the U.S. is giving Ukraine too much support. I wonder if this survey was conducted with people that know that we have given $2.7 billion to Ukraine since 2014, or that Congress and Biden just gave another $13.6 billion to Ukraine last week, or that Joe Biden announced an additional $800 million yesterday. But yeah, for sure, we're totally not giving enough support. Ukraine ushers in social credit with the DAIA application. This article was written in French, and while I can speak and read French, I am very rusty, so I'm hopeful that my translation is accurate. Apparently, in 2020, Ukraine launched an application called DAIA, which collates identity card, passport, license, vaccination record, registrations, insurance, health reimbursements, and social benefits, and more. The EU had announced a test to digitize the vaccination record wallet and identities in 2018, Ukraine was very quick to react with Dia, which was deployed by the government nearly 2 years ago, and since then, the platform has evolved. Nearly 50 services can be reached from the application and 9 official documents, which hold the same value as their paper counterparts. With COVID 19, the government has even announced the payment of benefits will be conditional on the presence of a vaccination certificate. Poland, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, Estonia, and of course China all have variations of this digitization system. The Chinese system, quote, allows users to identify themselves when they register in a hotel or to benefit from certain government services with a points system that allows them to have additional rights in the event of good behavior. While the digitization provides a higher level of convenience, I believe the question should be posed, at what cost? As someone so eloquently put it to me the other day, just because we can, should we? Murder hornets are invading the United States, and they could be stopped with a bizarre sex spray. Researchers have studied the sex pheromones of the queen hornet and used that milkshake to bring all the boys to the yard. The Asian giant hornet, which has been called the murder hornet, is native to East Asia, but touched down in the United States in late 2019, right along with coronavirus. Its stinger is a quarter-inch long and wreaks havoc on honeybee colonies and crop fields. Professor James Naya something is one of the leading researchers studying how to capture murder hornets. They are amazing social insects, but don't belong in North America. Oh, so like members of Congress. And harm our bee populations, so we should remove them. As stated earlier, the male hornet is very attracted to the queen's pheromones, which is a combination of 3 different acids. The male hornets are tricked into thinking they might find a breeding opportunity, but end up meeting their demise at the bottom of a trap. By cutting off the queen's access to males, the risk of murder hornets breeding will be greatly reduced and population will be driven down. In Asia, murder hornets kill about 50 people per year. Their stinger injects a small dose of neurotoxin called mandaratoxin. Because that's just my style, right? Or they spray the venom in victims' eyes. The Fed raised the interest rate for the first time since 2018 yesterday, and in doing so laid out a very aggressive plan to push borrowing costs to restrictive levels next year. The U.S.'s central bank's Federal Open Market Committee kicked off the move to tighten monetary policy with a quarter percentage point increase in the target federal funds rate. This is half of a point off, or a quarter of a point off from the full half point that they had originally expected to pass in this meeting. Policymakers now see the federal funds rate rising to a range between 1.75% and 2% by the end of 2022. And they project it will climb to 2.8% next year. While Fed Chair Jerome Powell said, quote, the economy is strong enough to weather the rate hikes and maintain its current strong hiring and wage growth, and that the Fed needed to now focus on limiting the impact of price increases on American families. Oh, I'm so glad you guys decided to do this now, because it's not like anything's been going on for the last 2 years. Even with the actions taken, though, inflation is expected to remain above the 2% target through 2024. Powell also said, the way we're thinking about this is that every meeting is a live meeting for a rate hike. They could add the equivalent of more rate increases by also pairing its massive bond holdings. We're going to be looking at evolving conditions, and if we do conclude that it would be appropriate to move more quickly to remove accommodation, then we'll do so. How does the rate hike affect you? Well, it's designed to curb demand for big ticket items like houses, cars, home improvement projects that become more expensive to finance. You can expect to see a recession this summer, a bear market in real estate, and a drop in stock prices, most likely. Fed policymakers also marked down their original GDP estimate for 2022 from their original 4% estimate down to 2.8%. Seema Shah, who's a chief strategist with Principal Global Investors, commented by saying it won't be easy. Rarely has the Fed safely landed the United States economy from such inflation heights without triggering an economic crash. I'm going to shill a book here real quick. Ron Paul's excellent book, End the Fed, would be a must read if you haven't done so yet. In Santa Barbara, ending on a high note, Chick-fil-A is possibly going to be declared a public nuisance due to long drive-through lines that has cars backed up in the street for hours at a time. The city's traffic engineer, police chief, and community development director have evaluated the situation and believe the persistent traffic backup onto State Street is a public nuisance. Kristen Sneddon, a member of Santa Barbara City Council, believes the restaurant may have outgrown the location and that the problem cannot be fixed. At the City Council session, Sneddon and other members unanimously approved moving toward a potential public nuisance designation. Chick-fil-A representatives asked the City Council to delay the designation and give it time to work on fixing the problem. The council agreed to a public hearing on June 7th. Travis Collins, the operator of the restaurant, said he wants to be a good neighbor and was continuing efforts to ease traffic issues. That's including hiring additional staff and third-party traffic control. When you're serving God's chicken with a smile and it's my pleasure, it's going to cause backups. I'm just saying, it happens all over the place. Read this article, you can see all of the cities that have problems with Chick-fil-A. Hidden deep in the recesses of the news, families of Parkland shooting victims will be getting $127.5 million for the FBI's inaction. Federal officials confirmed Wednesday that the DOJ has reached a multi-million-dollar settlement with the families of most of those killed or wounded in the Parkland shooting. Because the FBI failed to stop the gunman, even though it had received information that he intended to attack, the FBI received a tip a month before the massacre. The government's announcement Wednesday said the settlement resolves 40 cases connected to the shooting, but does not amount to an admission of fault by the United States. The call the FBI received said Nicholas Cruz has bought guns and plans to slip into a school and start shooting the place up. I know he's going to explode, the caller told the FBI. But alas, that information was never forwarded to the FBI's South Florida office, and Cruz was never even contacted. He pleaded guilty last October to 17 counts of first-degree murder. He will receive either a death sentence or life in prison after a penalty trial that is scheduled to start in April. Let me backtrack real quick. So the taxpayers are paying families, which deservedly so. I understand, like, there's justification for this, but the taxpayers are now footing the bill for the ineptitude of a group of individuals at an organization that has proven time and time and time again of their ineptitudes. And yet, we still keep them in force. That is your everything yesterday this morning. I love all of you guys. I really appreciate all of your support. I've gotten tons of great feedback. I enjoy doing this. This is fun for me. So as long as it remains so, I will continue to do the show. I am wishing you all a happy Thursday, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Take care and have a great day.